Rob.
Hello everyone and welcome to Rob's Rogues and the BatmanUniverse.net. And today is a very special day for me. I have a Holy Grail piece now in my collection. This is something that I have been looking at for many years. I actually had this in my hands at one point in Cancun, Mexico, of all places, and there's a funny little story that I'll get to in just a second. But today we're taking a look at the Warner Brothers Studio Store exclusive, the 10-inch Robin figurine. Figurine, I believe, is the wrong word that it should be. It should be the Robin statue, the Tim Drake classic Robin statue from the Warner Brothers Studio Store. These were great stores that you could find all over the world. And 99, I think the studio stores lasted, I think, or correct me if I'm wrong, actually, I think they lasted till about 2000, I want to say 2002, maybe into 2004. But I know they didn't last much longer past that, or if they made it that far. But they had a lot of amazing products. I picked this up off of eBay for a really great deal. There is one minor defect with mine, which we will get into once we get Robin out of the package. But first of all, before we get into anything else, let's take a look at the box. It's very plain. There are two black sides and two white sides with the same image on both sides. And I'm very far away from the camera just because I can't back out far enough. There's the white side of the box. So if you've seen two sides of the box, you've seen all sides of the box. Nothing special on the top. It's black. And the bottom is just the product information. And, you could see where the information for future reference is, Warner Brothers, Burbank, California, blah, blah, blah. To denote here, this was originally $45 US, and I picked it up for $40 off eBay with, shipping and tax on there. So I got a really good deal. But again, like I said, I do have a defect, and just trying to look up some information for this guy before the review. I did find one for about $60 in mint condition, in box and everything. So it's one of those things, you buy one and then, 2 days later you find, 4 or 5 of them. Generally, this guy goes for about $120, or $60 to $120. 60 has been the lowest in mint condition that I've seen. Like I said, I got mine for 40, and I was the only bidder on it. I think my max bid was $41 if I remember correctly. But I am so very happy to have this in my collection. There are two Robin statues, actually 3, but 2 main ones that I've been really looking for. This is one of them, and the other one is the Young Justice comic series Robin statue. I think you could put him together with Superboy and a Kid Flash, if I remember correctly, or they can be individual. But we will get Robin out of package, and before we do that, we've got a little funny story about the last time I had this in my hand. On my honeymoon with my first wife in Cancun, Mexico, in the year 2000. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we're looking at our red screen here. I do have a funny little story, and I'm sure somebody's going to be like, Rob, we don't want to hear the story. Then you can just fast forward. But the last time I had that statue in my hand, I had 2 statues in my hand. I had the New Adventures of Batman, or the Batman Animated Series Robin maquette statue that goes for a crazy amount of money right now. He's been up around $200 or $300. So I kick myself every time I look at that statue and go, I had that in my hand in Cancun, and it was very reasonably priced, back then. And the current statue that you clicked on for this review. But my wife at the time, which is now an ex-wife at the time, maybe that's why she became an ex-wife, she's like, oh, I don't know, do you really want any of this silly superhero stuff? And mind you, this is on our honeymoon, and I'm like, did you not realize the person you just met? I'm a superhero geek. She's like, well, we're in Cancun, and we're going to have to take this with us back on the plane. It's something we're going to have to lug around, and it could break, yada, 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 all of that stuff. She's like, isn't there something else that you could possibly want? And the only other Robin thing there that she talked me into because it would travel better is this guy. My Robin plush bean bag. So I could have got a statue of this guy, or of the statue that we're getting ready to watch the review on, or this, and she's like, oh, we'll just do this. Now, you'll look at the tag of this. I can't remember exactly what I paid for. The tag says $89, which I didn't pay $89 for this. I forget what the rate for the currency was there. It was probably like 10 bucks, 10 or 12 bucks, probably something like that. So the statue would have, like I said, you saw the box, it would probably would have been about $45 to $50. I think during the price tag and silly superhero stuff, maybe that's why she became an ex-wife. Maybe, Robin, what do you think? So I'm glad my wife now really embraces me being the child that I still am, collecting superhero stuff, that allowed me to get the statue that you're getting ready to watch. So let this be a lesson to you. Something that you really want, don't settle for something that's going to make you laugh. There's a great story behind this. Every time somebody sees it, it's like, why did you buy this? Well, let me tell you. Okay, now on to the review. All right, to use a phrase from Stu Murray, wow, I am blown away by this. I can understand why statue buying can become a very expensive hobby, and a hobby that you just want more and more and more of very, very quickly. I knew I wanted this the very first time I saw it, clear back in 1999 in Cancun, Mexico, when I'm on my honeymoon, supposed to be being all romantic, and all I could think of about this whole entire time is I didn't get this statue. So I guess if you wait 15 plus years or more, eventually you can get the thing that you want. Again, I'm just amazed by this, and I'm also really kind of shocked just due to the small little defect into it. Some people may think it's kind of a big defect, but in the grand scheme of things, I've seen far worse defects in statues. And I'm just really glad to have it. But the detailing on this is just really, really good. I apologize, I'm a little bit farther away from the review table just to try and get all this in frame here. He is approximately 10 inches tall. He's kind of hunched over a little bit, but I think the tip of his head does reach about 10 inches. But the detail, and I wish I had a rotating stand here so you could see all of this. Maybe that'll be my next purchase. But the cape detail on this is just really, really good. Depending on sometimes who the artist is when they're drawing Tim Drake, sometimes the cape is a little bit shorter. I've always liked my Tim Drake Robin to have a really long cape that is equally as large as Batman's cape. I was never a fan of the Little Red Riding Hood cape that Dick Grayson and Jason Todd wore. In the New 52, with the Robin costumes, they all gave them much longer capes, and most of them were all black with the exception of Jason Todd's. But Tim's first costume is just so iconic and classic. As we're coming around here to the side, you will see the defect in this, and the defect is a broken finger, which we can kind of get into right there. So there is the part in question here. If I move it a little bit closer here, raise the camera up just a bit so we can kind of see there. So there's the defect. The finger was broken. Whomever had it before me, it was packaged very well, and it was back in. Even the little foam piece that was protecting the cape was sitting kind of tucked in back here, as I realized I had the camera out a little bit. These were tucked back in here, so some care was taken of the statue. A couple little tiny spots, maybe paint scuff, or just the paint didn't take for whatever reason. But, so yes, he is missing the finger right here. And I thought, oh, I'm not getting the full pristine, look of the statue. But the other statues that I was seeing on eBay, again, like I said, was going anywhere from $89 almost up to $200. So seeing this guy for about $40, and I was the only bidder for 4 days, and I was kind of thinking, well, somebody's going to snipe in at the last moment. But I was glad that nobody else did. And, I've seen a couple since then that have been about $60 to $75 that is perfect condition that he has a finger. I'm thinking about just painting this green. I don't think you would hardly be able to tell. And just from talking to some of the other Rogue Show members, I think by just having him turned a little bit, I think makes a world of difference, and you really can't even tell that it's there, and probably just the way that I would have him positioned. And that this side of the body is open, that you can kind of see him. The R isn't covered up like it would be from this side if I had him, or straight on. He does look like he's leaning a little bit to give a little bit of an action pose, but just by turning it a little bit here, looks like he's ready for action, like he's getting ready to lean back and punch somebody. But the detailing on this guy is just absolutely fantastic. As I shake the camera all about here. Let's get in on the face here. Just some nice clean sculpting. And with the Warner Brothers Studio statues, from what I've seen, they were done, like I said, exclusively for Warner Brothers. It is really hard to try and find any information on these of who the sculptor was. I know a lot of people like to give credit where credit's due, and I would also, but just trying to type in 1999 Warner Brothers Studio Robin statue, I get a lot of YouTube eBay bids. But just a fantastic piece. The face is perfect in the way that it is painted, no chips or blemishes anywhere. The Robin R is almost perfect, and something that I liked about Tim's first costume is the yellow accent that goes around the collar here. Some people would leave it off, but I think that just added an extra little bit of flair to Tim's costume. It's almost very like a preacher's type of a collar, if you will. But just a beautiful, beautiful looking piece here. Going down to the Robin R, the classic Robin R is pretty much on point here. You can see, just as the camera focuses a little bit there, just a little bit more of the yellow right here, and this little spot probably should have gone on just a little bit longer. You can kind of see where some was left off, but it's not like it's completely out of whack that you can't tell that it's an R. It is very much Tim Drake's classic R, with his yellow buttons there, and then his utility belt was also something. You can see the muscle work that they put into Tim. He's been working out. Tim's utility belt stayed very, very constant through the 90s and the early part of the 2000s before he got his new costume in the 1 year later storyline. And I'm always torn of which costume I like more. I think the 1 year later kind of became one of my favorite costumes. But again, this statue just does not disappoint at all. And then the classic yellow underlining of the cape. And I've said before on my podcast, Robin Everyone Loves the Drake, that some of the 90s costumes didn't translate very well into the 2000s and beyond. That you would look at Superboy's costume in the 90s, it looks very much of the 90s. The Tim Drake Robin costume, there was so much time and thought put into it by Norm Brayfogle and Neil Adams that they wanted something classic that would stand the test of time, and this is very much its own thing, and it does not look dated. You can look at it and go, oh yeah, that's his 90s costume, but it doesn't look and scream, oh my gosh, that's 1990s. Something else that they got perfect on this statue are his ninja boots, which you can kind of see. Have him out of a focus there, apologize about that. You can see the split toe. So I'm holding the statue one-handed. Stu's probably going, Rob, 2 hands. You can see the split toe on both toes there on the boot, which is just a classic part of Tim's costume that I always liked. And the ridges here, the sculpting that is done on the boots is sculpted on here. Just the muscle work that is here. And another thing that I always liked about this costume, which I think you can kind of see here, are the capsules or the pouches on the sides of his shoulders here, and then on his gauntlets as well. You could see all those, and those are all raised and sculpted portions. There was another part of his costume that I really liked, that he had these extra little pouches, but just an amazing, amazing sculpture. And is something for, aside from the Artifacts Damien statue that I have, it's so cool that this is my first Tim Drake Robin statue, and is one of the first Tim Drake Robin statues that I ever saw that made me go, I want to own this. I have to own this statue. And I'm so happy to be able to now add him to my collection. To give you a little size comparison, here's the DCUC Mattel Robin figure to kind of show you the size here. This figure is a little bit smaller than 6 inches, since he is a teen body buck. Comes up to about the waist. So like I said, the statue is 10 inches tall here. But just a fantastic piece. I am so glad to have it. And my wife now says, well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe I was the one to be able to look at you and hear the love that you have for this character to say, go ahead, bid on it. I know you really, really want it. And I think that's what makes it even more special for me. Aw. I cannot wait to go downstairs and put him on my shelf that sits behind me when I do my live videos, and he will be prominently standing there waiting for another statue that I have coming. So I will be having my about 3rd or 4th statue now. So that'll be coming sometime this month, very soon as Entertainment Earth sends it to me. But I am so very happy with the statue. Aside from the broken finger, which I think I can paint that very easily, Automatica said, well, if I'm ever in the Ohio area, maybe I can sculpt a finger for you. So how cool would that be? But if nothing is ever done with it, and I just turn him just slightly so you don't see the finger, he looks perfect. He looks great. And if you can get a hold of him, I highly recommend it. Depending on the pricing and who's selling it and where it's shipping from. I saw one today that is going for about $60, I think, with a $6 or $7 shipping, and then there are some as high as almost $200. But even at the $200 price range, I think it is worth every single cent. I am so entirely happy with this. Definitely, if I'm going to be doing more statue reviews, I'm going to need a rotating table. But today, we've been taking a look at the 1999 Warner Brothers Studio Store exclusive, the Tim Drake figurine, as it says on the box, but the Tim Drake Robin statue. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues and the BatmanUniverse.net signing off, saying we will see you guys next time.